Welcome to Real Estate Talk. We're tackling your questions about real estate. Today's question is, how long does it take to buy a house? Courtney, right out of the gate, I think my first answer is it depends on financing needs, especially. One of the reasons that at least the offer and contract and escrow period takes so long is because you have more parties involved than just your agent. So that we're talking a little bit about the financing mortgage part of it. It does matter too if it's a buyer or seller's market for the home search part of it. The time of year impacts that and the type of home you're searching for. But in most cases, the closing process takes about 30 to 60 days unless you made an all cash offer.
Yeah, let's run through some scenarios, Joe, so we can paint a picture for our audience, okay? And I want you to interject as you see fit, okay? So the first scenario is, how long does it take to buy a home with cash, okay? Typically, you can close in as little as 2 weeks. Once your offer is accepted, you'll likely want to conduct an inspection within kind of the first few days up to a week of going under contract, assuming that the inspection goes well, or post-inspection negotiations wrap up quickly. Attorneys can draft up the transfer documents very quickly so that you can close. Cash offers are obviously very attractive to sellers. Fewer financing hurdles, a quicker closing process, and no risk of the buyer's financing falling through. And the last thing that I'll hit on with cash offers is if you're closing at an attorney's office or a title company, you do need to make sure that they can accommodate the quick close, because they're usually, pulling title records and all of that. And so that's another thing that you want to weigh, but usually it's, very quickly with cash deals. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, not to get really in the weeds too, but the deed has to be filed at the courts. The courts are closed on Saturday and Sunday, so that already adds some time. But I was going to ask you, Courtney, what's the fastest close you've ever seen from the time you had an offer accepted to the point where it became the new homeowner's property?
It's so funny. I literally helped an agent yesterday with this, and I had to double take the contract because literally closing in 5 days.
Oh, 5 days. I thought my 8 was impressive. 5 days.
5 days. It's what's really interesting is they are closing quickly, and their inspection period is like the whole duration of the contract. It's an investor, it's cash, right? And they built in that kind of concurrent protection for the buyer, but 5 days.
Okay, so let's talk about properties with a mortgage or home buyers that will have a mortgage.
Yeah, so typically around 30 to 60 days. This process takes a little bit longer because you have the whole loan approval process, the appraisal process. The timeline really involves securing financing, completing inspections, meeting all of the lender requirements, including obtaining that appraisal. And then obviously title company attorneys have to draft up all of those documents. So I'd say 30 to 60 days from the date that you are actually under contract to the end.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me too. There's like you and I oversee different markets. We know that there's some markets have elongated timelines. Shout out to New York, which I think in that case, it's, 60 to 90 days in some cases.
Yep.
So, but yeah, 30 to 60 is definitely what I would tell a buyer.
I will make a quick little note on this particular piece is, you have, the period that it takes for you to secure your financing and everything. But in some cases, there are sellers that may ask for a later closing. Maybe they want a temporary lease. Like there are other variables that you want to consider as well, because the sellers do have a say so. But
I love that, Courtney. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's one of those levers you can pull where sellers think about price, terms, and timing. And if you have your hand on the lever of timing and you can make it more appealing to the seller like you described, sometimes that gives you more negotiation power on the price.
For sure. And let's move to this last one scenario, because I think this is really interesting. I am seeing, at least here in Texas, an uptick in short sales. And so if a buyer is considering purchasing a short sale, there's some considerations they need to make. So first off, what is a short sale?
I was just going to ask you, Courtney, what is a short sale? Let's start there.
Let's start there, because they're like, wait, what? What are you talking about, Courtney? So a short sale is when the homeowner sells their home for less than the amount that they owe on their mortgage. So for example, if a homeowner has an outstanding mortgage balance of like 400,000 and the current market value for their home is 350,000, they would be short 50,000. So in order for a short sale to proceed, the lender must give their permission to process and agree to accept the less than the outstanding balance for the mortgage. And yes, the lender loses money in this scenario, but they may agree to it rather than going through the high costs and hassles involved with foreclosing on the property. In a situation where a seller is selling their home under short sale processes, they don't receive any money when that home closes. Like, let's be really, really clear. And despite the name short sale, it's not short. Okay. Best case scenario, 3 months. Worst case scenario, much longer. The longest I've seen, Joe, is about 9 months. Have you done a short sale, and what's the longest that you've seen?
Anyone that's been an agent from 2008 on has done a short sale, I think. So yes,
Yes.
I've done many short sales. It's been a while, but it's somewhere around actually almost 9 months for me was like a baseline expectation, Courtney,
Really?
where the other thing I had to get buyers ready for was the fact that you might wait that long and find that the bank doesn't approve the short sale.
Yeah.
So not only do you have to wait that long, but it's not like you're waiting to close all the time. Sometimes it's just waiting to get a response from the bank on whether or not a transaction can go through. So I just had to preach patience for buyers all the time, where you can sometimes get a better deal, but it might take some time. And even then, the deal might not go through.
For sure. So you absolutely want to pack your patience. And this is what I tell agents all the time. Make sure your buyer has a plan A, B, C, and sometimes a plan D. Most markets have some sort of addendum that directly speaks to lender consent and all of that. So make sure you connect with your agent on that. It really does offer a lot of benefits if you have the time to wait for that lender to process the whole short sale approval. And also you might get some really good financing terms as well. So
we talked about a few different timelines. So let's just take a step back again with just how long it takes to buy and just talk about some of the factors that are involved with that too, which to me, these are also sort of the hurdles you have to clear in a transaction, where financing is a big one. So do you have a low credit score? Are you missing some of the financial documents that the lender needs to move things forward? Getting pre-approved before you make an offer can help speed up that process because of that, where pre-approval means that part will go faster because you're ready for it, because you've submitted a lot of those documents to the lender already. Inspections are another hurdle, where we always recommend getting a home inspection on the property too, scheduling that home inspection, which your agent can help with, but just aligning schedules with the home seller and the inspector can take a little bit of time. That's actually dictated in the contract too. So usually about 7 to 10 days, it happens within that amount of time. Sometimes it happens like next day or 2 days after you get an accepted offer, because everybody wants to keep this thing moving.
Yeah.
The appraisal is something that the lender of a property, if you have a mortgage, that the lender will hire a third-party appraiser to go through the property. Not the same thing as a home inspection. The appraisal will basically find out for the lender if you're borrowing on an amount that they agree with. And then the seller, sometimes, like you said before, Courtney, we talked about this could be a potential lever for you. The seller might just need more time to move out of the home.
Yeah. And I want to pause real quick before we wrap this up. You might be thinking as you're watching this, like, oh my gosh, that seems like a lot. Okay. This is why it's so crucial that you have the right team between your lender, between your agent. Like, that's our job. We make this smooth and stress-free. So make sure you don't forget that. We'll provide more information in the description below, and we'll be back with another episode with tips to help you navigate the world of real estate. Let us know in the comments what questions you have about today's topic or even future topics that you want us to cover. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. We've got a lot of great stuff coming to you very soon. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.